My younger brother, my older youngest sister, we are all kids, and the person we thought was our older sister, turned out to be our mom. I have 4 older sisters, which obviously isn't the case. Now I just found out the news from Canada, birth certificate people, that my birth mother is my sister. The first person I called on the way home was my older, youngest sister. I have tears running down my face. She answers the phone, and it was a look I've never seen before. She looked concerned, but it was a look like he knows. I look at her and I said, "Did you know?" I said it again. "Did you know?" And she said, "I've known for a while." And she had tears running down her face, and I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" She starts crying and she tells me that that's her mom too. You guys probably don't know how hard it is to know that there's somebody who shares more than just, being a sister. She went through the same thing that I'm going through and had no one to talk to. She never told us. She never told me. Does my brother know? And she said he doesn't. And I said, I have to tell him. She also found out that our brother is also the child of who we thought was our older sister. Finding out from Canada that my mom isn't my mom and it's my older sister was tough in itself. The way my sister found out that she was her daughter was in a malicious way. In an argument with our older biological mother, she said that I'm your mother and consequently told her that I'm also her son and our brother's also her son. People think, oh, you guys probably had a great relation your whole life as siblings, it was probably still happy. No. My relationship with my older sister, my biological mother, never existed. She was a terrible person to me. And I'm not gonna get into the details because everybody's going through different things and I don't want to bring up anybody else's problems and stuff they're dealing with, but she was not nice. I confronted my mom about it. My mom who raised me. I'm still being lied to. During this time, I've contacted my older sisters. I use older sisters for purpose of talking because that is what is normal to me. They are my aunts. Nobody could tell me a single thing about those 3 years that their sister, my biological mother, had 3 kids. No one can tell me how, why, when, what, just still lies. As far as I'm concerned, there's no way they didn't know. They know who my father is, but they won't tell me. My parents who raised me are my grandparents. Even though they lied to me for many years, they took on 3 young kids, 1 year apart, when they didn't have to. They gave us a life that we wouldn't have had. And when I tell you that we wouldn't have had, because growing up, my biological mother also had 2 other kids that I've known to be my niece and nephew. So it turns out, I don't just have 1 half-sister and 1 half-brother. I have 2 half-brothers and 2 half-sisters, and I've seen how they were raised by the woman who would have been my biological mother and how bad in retrospect compared to my life that my parents gave me. And it hurts knowing that my niece and nephew got the sad end of the stick. Just awful. And I don't even know if they know, that I know. I want to find my birth father. I need to find all this information out. I take an DNA test. My sister, she takes an DNA test. First thing we do is we check. We confirmed it. We do not have the same father. We checked both of our DNAs to see if our parents are related in terms of our mother and father. They were both negative. There was nothing happening inside the family, which is a relief. It is a relief, I wondered for a very long time, but it's not. We have separate fathers that aren't related to us in terms of family, chromosome, DNA, all that jazz. Now begins a very long and interesting turn of events. More family secrets uncovered and the journey to find my birth father. Finding out that not just me, but my younger brother and my older sister, we are all kids of who we thought she was our older sister. People wonder how no one knew she was pregnant. Come on. This doesn't seem real. We are all 1 year apart. I'm 34. My younger brother is 33, and my older younger sister is 35. We are almost perfectly 1 year apart minus a month or so. I called my mom who raised me. I confronted her and asked her. I said, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me?" She didn't know what I was talking about. I had tears running down my face and I said, "Mom, you are not my mom biologically." And that's when she started crying. She closed her door and she said, "I never lied to you." Never lying and never telling the truth are the same thing. They are the same thing. You never told me. Is it true that my older sister is my mother? She said yes. And I asked about my sister and my brother. She confirmed it. We are all kids of our older sister. That's when I started freaking out. I said, "Mom, I need to know right now." When I called that birth certificate place and I put those information in, they never questioned my birth father. They never questioned it. And that's when she told me that they don't know my father. There was no birth father listed. And I asked about my brother. I asked, "Do you know his dad?" She said no. I asked about my sister. "Do you know her dad?" She said, "I don't know." So we are 3 kids, 1 year apart with 3 different fathers, potentially. They don't know who they are. I don't know how this could happen. All this did was open up more questions. I hate being lied to. I hate secrets. I'm like a cat with a mouse. If there's a task in front of me or a goal or something I want, I will get it. And I will get the truth as to who my birth father is, what this story is, and why the lies are still happening. I kept this all to myself for a few days. My birth certificate arrived. My mother listed on there is my older sister. My birth father, not listed. There is no name. I have more questions than answers. I'm still being lied to. I haven't talked to my sister, my birth mother, in years. She's a pathological liar. She's been mean to me, mean to my parents, mean to everybody. She was in and out of the court system, had a lot of legal problems. So the fact that I would take her word is very slim. Maybe I will eventually reach out to her, but right now, I do not believe that she would give me the answer I want anyways. So I reach out to people I believe would know. My mom, my dad, my older sisters, my aunts. And they all said the same thing. That was a really rough time period in their lives and they don't want to talk about it and they don't know. So then I asked my mom and dad, does my brother, does my sister and I, do we share the same father? She said no. My mom said we do not. How can one be true and the other be false? How can you say we don't share the same father but then not know who they are? I did take a DNA test. I tested on GED match to confirm that my sister and I's parents are not related. We have different fathers. Because my half-sister did a DNA test at the same time, we're able to rule out which side of the family was which. We share the same matches on our mother's side but we had different matches on our other side. So that's when I made a thread on Reddit. I made a post. I had an overwhelming amount of support from a DNA company saying that I should reach out to them because they can find my birth father. They accepted my case, they start building out my father's family tree and they tell me, please don't look into it while we're doing it and make any assumptions because things will change as they build the trio. Me, I'm impatient, I want to know right away. So I started following meticulously while they're doing the tree. Started saying some last names that had some relation to me, pretty close, and then I started looking up and googling those names and I found one of them to be a very, very influential powerful person in the Canadian justice system as a relation to me. And then I started thinking about the stories of my sister going in and out of courts, legal issues, and all that stuff that maybe there was some type of connection. So for days, I was looking through these results and looking into it. This man would have been much older than my mother would have been when I was born. And people are asking, my mom had my sister at 16, my mom had me at 17. My mom had my brother at 18. We are exactly 1 year apart. This individual that was close to my relation in terms of DNA, I had some thoughts. Somebody abused their power. Fortunately, I was wrong. It was wrong. They continue to build out that ancestry tree of my father's side. That person is not my father, but we are related. While they're building out my family tree, I come across a name who shares DNA, a very high percentage on my mom's side, who would have to be DNA-wise my mom's half-sister. My mom never had a sister. This individual passed away a few years ago. I found the obituary. I look at the obituary talking about this woman's parents and I noticed that that woman's father shares the same name as my grandmother's father, my mom who raised me, her dad. They share the same name. It's a rare name and it's a rare kind of spelling for it in abbreviation, and it said that in the obituary. So I started thinking, oh my God. My mom who raised me, her parents got divorced at a young age, and I'm wondering if this was the reason they got divorced, is that he had an affair with another woman and she has a half-sister she never knew that lived 20 minutes from us. I started looking into it, and I contacted my mom about it. I called my mom to ask about this mysterious woman who appeared on my ancestry with enough DNA to be classified as my mom's half-sister. They are born in the same area. They were born the same year, and they share a father that has the same first name. So many coincidences. My mom said to me, this could not have happened. I have no idea who this woman is. I know my dad did not have an affair on my mom, and that was not the reason for their divorce. I kept saying DNA doesn't lie. There has to be some weird connection you don't know about. During this time of talking to my mom, the DNA company was building out my biological father's family tree. They're continuing to build this out and I noticed how big it's gotten. It's huge. People all the way to 1800 working down to find put who he is, which prompted me to ask them a question. I've had to tell them a story. My grandfather, my dad who raised me, he was brought to Canada from Rotterdam, Holland by some random people. I don't know what affiliation they had to his family, but he was brought to Canada. I believe at 5 years old from the stories he was told, and he lived with an adoptive family in Canada. He never knew his biological parents. He never knew anybody's side from his biological family. A few hours later, I got a message from the person working on the case. Bless her heart. She's incredible. She said that my story pulled her heartstrings a little bit and she decided to take a look at my paternal and maternal matches on my mother's side. And it turns out that person that I thought was my mom's half-sister is my dad's half-sister. My grandfather's half-sister, which is absolutely crazy because I never ever even considered the fact that he had any family here, considering the story he was told as a child and the story we were all told from him. But it turns out he had a half-sister living in the same area as him and a potential biological parent. Now the question stems, why was he in an adoptive family if he had a family living here? Why was he born in Holland and brought here by some random people? The story is becoming a mystery with everything, not just my biological family, not my upbringing, all the stuff that I found out, but I'm also going to be able to get some answers about my dad's side of the family, my grandfather, because he knew nothing. I then get a message back from the DNA company. They gave me 2 surnames that could potentially be my birth father. I sent him a message November 12th as well as added him on Facebook. And to date, I have not gotten a response nor has he added me, except I went to his profile last night just to look at it to see if he's posted anything new or if he's active again. But something leads me to believe he is active. Because when I first found this profile, there was one account added that was my biological mother's profile. However, when I looked at the account again, there are 2 accounts added, both of my biological mothers. So something tells me that these 2 people are in communication and he is active enough to at least accept a friend request from a familiar face. Now due to my biological mother's history, I feel like she is feeding him some story about how he is probably gonna get a message from a random person who is claiming to be his son and telling him not to accept me. Or they're having a conversation like, hey. You know that time we hooked up? Well, I got pregnant and had a kid. I don't know what that conversation is because I'm still not ready to reach out to my biological mother. Just due to my history and how we've always been, I do not think that would be the best course of action at this moment. But there is definitely something going on between my birth father and my birth mother, and I'm in the middle, not getting an answer. It doesn't make sense that there's 2 profiles added on his Facebook when prior to that, there was only one. He is definitely in communication with my birth mother. I have a few more questions now. I wait for a response from either my birth mother or my biological father reaching out to me or accepting my messages. I'll be taking you guys on that journey of my grandfather, helping him find his biological family and the story of his whole life because it is very compelling and interesting. And it takes place post-World War II, a journey from Holland to Canada with a lot of secrets and a lot of twists and turns along the way. And I'm very excited to share that with you. When the DNA company that is working on my case messaged me back and said that a name that they provided cannot be my birth father's name because it doesn't align with any of my matches, anything in the history that they built out, giving them a different answer. I messaged my nephew, I guess my youngest half-brother, back, and I said that cannot be my birth father. I got a reply back instantly, only from the person I believe is my birth mother. She responded with, that is a 100% your birth father, along with a screenshot of his face. I told her DNA does not lie and that is not my birth father. I then got a message from DNA company with a full name, a first and last name of who they believe is my birth father. It was the name that I provided to my nephew or my youngest half-brother, asking, do you know these names? And his mom said, no. That person is my biological father. And to support that case, the DNA company also sent me a picture of his profile on Facebook with my biological mother listed as his friend. I sent that over. I didn't get a reply. I sent that to my mom. She just responded with seriously with an exclamation point. I don't know why. I don't know why they lied, but there could be a situation where my biological mother didn't know who my father was. Only adding to the fact that she was not the most stable person growing up. She ended up having 5 kids with 5 different fathers. 3 of us were born 1 year apart, that were raised by my grandparents. Who are my mom and my dad that raised me. They are the greatest, regardless of them lying to me about who my birth father and my birth mother were. They raised me and made me who I am today. And then during this time, my biological mother also had 2 other kids because I thought she was my older sister. Those 2 other kids grew up around me as them being my niece and nephew, which turns out that they are my half-sister and my half-brother. In total, my biological mother had 5 kids from 5 different fathers, but I found my biological father and I sent him a message. This is unraveling in real time. I recently sent him a message because I just found out who he was. I found my biological father. And during this process, you all know that I told you guys a story about my grandfather, my dad who raised me, who was brought here from Holland to Canada, who didn't know his family. Well, I've uncovered a lot of truths and a lot of theories and a lot of things that will make a very compelling and great story. And I would love to take you guys on the journey of finding my grandfather, my dad's biological family. I got a message from the DNA company that is working on my case to find my biological father. They sent me 2 surnames that could potentially be his last name. I did something I thought I would never do. I messaged my nephew, who I've grown to learn is actually my youngest half-brother. I love this kid. I shoot him a message and I ask him, does your mom know these 2 names? I get a message almost immediately back that says, no, she does not. So I wanted to test the waters a little bit and see how much he knew. While we were talking about my DNA results in terms of my heritage, where I'm from, and some theories that I had, I decided to come out of the gate and just ask him. I said, did you know that you're my half-brother and that we share the same mother? And that's when he gave me a response I was not expecting. He said, I've always known, I thought everybody did too. What? My little nephew, he's always known that I was his half-brother. He thought that everybody was just existing and living what we were told and acting that out in real life that he was my nephew. Our biological mother was just my sister. He then messages me back, which is a direct message from his mother, our mother, biological mother, that says, if you want to know your birth father, this is his name. He sends the name to me. Coincidentally, at the exact same time, within 30 seconds, I get a text message from my mom who raised me, my grandmother. I get a message from her. It says the same name, and it says, if you come across this name, maybe that's somebody I remember. And I started thinking to myself, were they lying to me that whole time, saying they had no idea who this was? Because simultaneously, they both messaged me the same name. Only theory I could think about is they're in cahoots. They're talking to each other on the phone, and the messaging is happening through my youngest half-brother's phone, between that and then my mom's phone messaging me. I then take that said name and I send it to the DNA company. A few minutes later, I get a response, and they ask me where did I get this name from. I told them my birth mother and my mom who raised me. They responded with, they are lying to you. I asked why. They said that name does not appear anywhere in my family tree on my father's side, nowhere in lineage, no cousins. There's not even a remotely close connection to a name that resembles that. It's impossible. They are still lying to me.